of the things related to this topic is, it's something that I have to say that I didn't anticipate with Blu-ray format. And all the time I've been kind of covering all video of this, it's that the marketing for Blu-ray is, the idea in the mind of consumers is perfect picture, perfect sound. And with a lot of these classic films, many of the fans that are alive today have never actually seen these films in the theater. They've only maybe seen them on DVD, on television. And there's a tendency when people have a favorite film to see it through rose-colored glasses. And so they have this idea in their heads about how it's supposed to look. And then the reality is many of these films are 10, 20 or more years old. So how do you manage those expectations when there is a portion of the audience, no matter when I review a classic title on Blu-ray, no matter how good it looks and no matter how logical an argument you make for how good it looks, there's always about 30% of the audience that thinks that's crazy because there's grain and there's this and that, and why doesn't it look like Avatar? And so there's these expectations that have to be incredibly difficult to meet. How do you manage that from a studio perspective when you're trying to remaster these titles?
I think sometimes you have to ignore it. I mean, candidly, I don't want me to be overly flippant about some of the reviews and the critique that comes back, but when you look at the volume of it in some cases, I mean, first of all, we've got these amazing tools and this amazing format to be able to re-deliver these films into a home experience that's far superior to anything you would have, maybe remembered from those rose-colored glasses. I mean, I can't take myself back to 1977 in Flushing and remember what it was like to see Star Wars the first time.
Right.
But I sure can remember what it's going to be like to deliver this amazing experience at home. And to step away from using any of those tools, I think would be a real shame. And when you've got the opportunity, as many of us have, to pair those tools, pair the great creative and technology, talent that we have here with the director, who's still willing to be involved and wants to take a relook at his film. James Cameron is an example, who oversaw the new transfer of Aliens. There were some things in there that were removed. The way you manage that when somebody says, oh, they got rid of this, they got rid of this, they got rid of this, it's James Cameron. It's the director of the film who, we anointed, or any director that we anoint to take the care for the story and the characters and develop it as we should see it. And it's that vision we want to make sure that we can enact. So I think part of it is you got to kind of balance some of it. You got to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, and sometimes you just roll the dice.
You're just never going to please everybody, but our objective is always to be as true to the filmmaker's vision as possible. And again, with The Godfather, for example, some of those that are new to the franchise saw the Blu-ray transfer and thought, oh, well, this looks really dark. But the truth is, it's very, Francis Ford Coppola was involved every step of the way, and this was his original vision. And you might even see it versus some other home entertainment previous versions that we've released. And it does look darker than those, but this is really true to the source.
I would imagine it helps when the director's there, or the cinematographer's there, you can bring them back in and they can be involved and prove it. It's pretty hard to argue with that, even if you're a diehard fan who knows these films, it's hard to argue with that kind of expertise and authority.
You can argue with it, but it's not a good career move.
and they certainly will argue with it, it's my experience. Have directors, have these talent, have they been willing to come back in? They've been pretty excited about Blu-ray? Have you found them willing to participate?
Oh, absolutely. It's like revisiting their children again. They're very excited to be part of the process, and they're very actively involved both on the technical side and the marketing side. They want to make sure that the right message is getting out. One of the challenges we had in working with William Friedkin is that both Billy and Bill Blatty, who was the novelist and the screenwriter, both saw the film as sort of a deeply religious, emotional picture, and many people relate to it in terms of the shock moments in the film as a horror film. And so as we started to position it in our marketing plan and our communication to the consumer as a horror film, they were horrified, and they pushed back and said, no, it's not a horror film. So we really had to work very closely with them and deal with it very carefully. So they're very involved depending upon the picture.
When talent isn't available, for example, in an older film, how do you generally judge the way it should look? Is there, do you archives? Do you have someone on hand who's kind of the ombudsman for that, kind of makes the final say about this is how we think it should look?
when talent is not available, we go to archive prints that have been maintained over the years and use those as references. We also have notes from the deep history of the studio that we can reference. And, you know, part of this is doing this kind of work with people who are, with technicians who really understand and know film, from the film labs to the transfer facilities that we work with, and managing that process and being in control of the process to make sure that the decisions that are made reflect the values of the original filmmaker's vision and the original product as much as possible.
It's interesting that in the case of the African Queen, about 10 years ago, we got an MPA archive print and set up a screening for Jack Cardiff, who was the original cinematographer, and recorded him and his comments as he was watching this print. And he since had passed away, and then it came time that we could actually restore the film, and we restored the film and actually then looked at the restored one next to the MPA archive print, and it had his commentary. So again, we could be as close as possible to the original direction.